Last night, Alabama had said it expected Smith to go unconscious within seconds and die within a matter of minutes. Is that what you saw? What did you see last night?
Yeah, that's definitely not what we saw. And it's interesting to see the Attorney General say that everything went consistent with the plans that they've laid out. We've seen in the past the Attorney General and the Commissioner of Prisons here in Alabama talk about how the process went smoothly. But it's worth noting that prior to this attempted nitrogen hypoxia execution, that there had been 3 botched executions prior. So one of those, as the reporter previously mentioned, was an attempt at lethally injecting this same man, Kenneth Smith, who the state was unsuccessful in being able to access his veins. There had been 2 previous attempts as well. One of Alan Eugene Miller, the attempt to execute him via lethal injection was unsuccessful. And before that, there was the completed execution of Joe Nathan James, where the state had to cut into Joe Nathan James' skin to access veins in a way that, folks, including his family, say was torturous. So it's worth noting that Alabama has a very bad track record when it comes to completing executions in the state. One of the things the Attorney General mentioned is that justice occurred last night. I witnessed the execution sitting next to Deanna Smith, Kenny Smith's wife, and I certainly don't think that she thinks justice was carried out last night.
Well, what did you see, and what was it? And authorities are saying once again that as the person becomes unconscious in seconds, and then minutes later he passes. Is that what you saw? I mean, describe what that room was like and what you saw.
Sure. So as the witnesses entered the room and the curtain was pulled back, within seconds of Mr. Smith giving his final remarks, we saw him begin violently shaking, thrashing against the straps that held him down. This was the 5th execution that I've witnessed in Alabama, and I've never seen such a violent execution or a violent reaction to the means of execution. So we saw him thrash against the straps, holding him onto the gurney for probably 4 or 5 minutes. After that, he gasped for breath for probably an additional, 10 minutes or so. That included some dry heaving into the mask. There had been concerns about potentially Mr. Smith vomiting into the mask. He'd suffered from PTSD related to the previous execution attempt in November 2022. And so that was something, anxiety-related vomiting that they were concerned about, and vomiting induced by the method. So what we saw last night was, a more violent execution than I've ever witnessed in the 4 previous executions that I've been at here in Alabama.
And so just wondering, is this nitrogen gas method here to stay? I mean, 2 other states, Mississippi and Oklahoma, have already authorized it.
Sure, and I think you heard the Attorney General hint that his staff, the staff of the Alabama Department of Corrections, is ready to serve as an example for other states of how this could be carried out. Difficulty getting lethal injection drugs and then difficulty administering the drugs through IVs has led to states looking for other methods. So I think, he mentioned there are many, many death row inmates. I think it's around 40 inmates here in Alabama that have agreed to have opted into the nitrogen hypoxia. So when all of the issues with lethal injection were happening, you had a lot of folks on death row who opted into this method thinking that the state would never use it. And so now, last night, the state of Alabama was able to prove them wrong on that front. So I think we'll continue to see nitrogen hypoxia executions in Alabama and probably in other states that will adopt legislation authorizing the method.
Lee, just a last thing. I mean, when you're there as a witness and you're not in any way a party to what happened, the horrible crime against this mother, what's that room like? And I'm thinking you sat by this person's wife, the family of the victim was there as well. What's that room like?
It's a really silent room. When you walk into the witness chamber in Alabama, there's a sign printed on a car tag. They print car tags there at the facility that says, stay seated and quiet. And that's what everyone pretty much does. So once Kenny began thrashing against those straps, his wife began to sob, and that was pretty much the only sound in the execution chamber until the curtains were pulled back, something like 25 minutes later.